career man, and we traveled all the time, everywhere. We were always going. And I went from school to school to school. And I learned not to get close to people because you just had to leave them. So in 1980, I had been married for 4 years. And my husband wanted to go down to North Carolina to see his father because his father was dying. On the way back, we took a trip through the Appalachian Mountains, stopped at a new thing that was the Episcopal Church's missionary outlet. Missionaries? South American Missionary Society? Episcopalians? It just didn't make sense to us. So my husband was preparing to be an Episcopal priest, so we went over and stopped and visited with him. After having lunch, a few hours later, we started heading home with an invitation to go to South America. We ended up going back for training. Spent a hot summer in North Carolina. Got the training that we needed. I had 2 boys from a previous marriage. They were almost teenagers. Then we started visiting churches to raise funds. And in 1981, August of 1981, we got on a plane for Ecuador. Here I am, never living in one place more than a couple of years. Went to 18 different schools before I graduated high school. So we started going to the airport, and I realized for the first time that I was nervous, that I was looking forward to something that I didn't know what it was. And usually I had control of every situation. We got on the airplane, and started flying to Ecuador. As we went up, there was cloud cover, so the rest of our trip was over the clouds. It was going from reality to the sublime. And what would we get when we went there? We started down through the clouds. And it was just beginning to be nightfall. So up top it was still all sunny, bright, sunny anticipation. And as we went through the clouds, it got darker and darker. And then I saw the city of Quito spread out in front of us, all little tiny lights. And something just got a hold of me, and I grabbed my husband's arm and I squeezed it and I hit him, punching him. David, we're going home. I'm going home. And this was the first time I had ever thought of any place as home. I had never met these people. I had never seen the country. Had no idea what I was getting into. Didn't speak the language. But somehow I knew I was going home. When we got there, we had a vast amount of experiences. Starting out in Puerto Viejo. It's a little town on the coast. The first year we had 13 missions. Some of them were in the jungle, some were in the town, some were in the country, and we had to travel to all of them. David started out by hiding with Earl Stanley Gardner novels. He read a lot of Perry Mason. We were supposed to have gone for 6 months language training. We had 2 weeks. The bishop said, there's a problem on the coast, go down now. So I went down to the coast. We didn't know how to prepare food, didn't know how to buy food. What you did in Puerto Viejo was you went out in the street, grabbed one of the donkeys that were roaming around loose, put a rope on it, took it to the market, called over to one of the Indian women, the native people down there, and said, carry my stuff. So she would put the stuff on her back and in a shawl basket, and then she'd go around with you. I got to meet a little girl named Maria. She was about 14. Every time I'd go to market, she would be there for me. And we'd go and she'd teach me how to say apple, banana, lettuce, meat, whatever I was looking for. And she would negotiate the price with these people because otherwise they would have ripped me off. And they had a little thing that they said, if you get so many, several things, like 6 oranges, they'll throw in an extra one. That's a yapa. And yapa is Quechua word for, I guess, gift or something like that. So we would get our yapas and our groceries and go back home. And we would meet all these wonderful people, and these people became my family. My family had been very distant. My father wasn't usually there. My mother and I never had a good relationship, and my brother was also in the Navy. He was 10 years older than me. So I'm meeting people for the first time in 1981, learning how to have family, how to love people. And these people were so opening and welcoming. And then we moved to another town. It was a larger town. And the bishop had great ideas. He was very much like Donald Trump. Good on the ideas, not great on the follow-through. But we lived in a house there, right on the Riobamba River. And every day, the smell of the eucalyptus would focus in. Every day I'd start the fire in the morning, just to take the chill off the air. And we went from there to another town, and then things started getting bad, not politically, but within our church. So then we had to turn around and come home. They pulled all of the missionaries out of the Ecuador. And I remember how hard I cried. Because I was going to have to leave the first home I had ever known. The first home that had ever meant anything. The first family I had really had. And here I am, a grown woman, 30-some years old, coming back. And we got on the same plane, going up, flying in, landing in Miami. And when we got out of the plane, I looked at my husband, knowing that I would never probably get back home again to Ecuador. And I said, oh my God, we're back in the land of the giants, because everybody there is my height or less. So that's my story.